stop, please stop, please stop. Wait, stop first, stop, please. Wait, please stop.
All right, here's your copy of the citation. As far as the bills, you don't want to take it?
No.
Well, you can't take it because it's your citation.
I don't want it.
That's your citation. That's littering. Step out of the car.
No, don't do that. Step off my car.
out.
I'm not stepping out. Look.
Mom, chill out.
I'm not going to call. Yes, I'm not typing.
Mom, please chill out. Mom, please chill out. Mom,
Don't
please chill
touch
out.
me. I'm not
Mom,
stepping out of shit. Call your motherfucking supervisor. You're not the supervisor. Call your supervisor. A supervisor. I'm not stepping out of nothing.
Please chill out.
Get your hand off me. Get your hand off me. I will step out on the supervisor. I'm not stepping out of nothing. Get your hand off me. Get your hand off me.
letting go.
You later. You dropped the ticket, not me.
I put the ticket in the car.
No, you dropped the ticket, not me. You dropped the ticket, not me. Get your hands off me. You're touching me. Give me the ticket. You're touching me forcibly. You're holding me too tight, and you're being out of line. Y'all see this, right?
Sir, I'm sorry. Can she just get the ticket?
No, you stop. Why are you holding my arm like
Because
this?
I gave you the ticket.
No, you did not. You dropped the ticket, not me. I told you I did not want it. You dropped it. You dropped it. You're doing too much. I'm not afraid of you. Get your hand off of me. You're holding me forcibly for no reason.
Because you need to step out of the car.
Get your fucking hands off me.
Step out of the car.
No, what am I stepping out of the car
Is there
for?
anything I can do to get you to comply?
Look, Mom, he just said take the ticket.
You said take the ticket.
No, I did not. You did that.
He said
You
take
threw
the
the
ticket
ticket at
over
I
me.
gave it to you so you
threw
could
the
leave.
ticket at me.
And then you grabbed it and threw it out.
Give me the
It's
ticket.
on your phone video.
Give me the ticket.
No,
Give me the ticket.
we're past that.
Okay.
You're under arrest. Step out of the car, littering.
Okay.
Step out of the car.
No, I'm not.
You're under arrest.
No, when
Yes, ma'am.
your colonel gets
No,
here,
we have
then I will
beyond that.
step out.
Step
I'm not
out.
getting out of the car. I'm with my child, and I'm not
I
doing that.
understand you're with
Call
your
your father
child.
right now.
Step out of the car.
I'm not.
Step out
I'm
of
not.
the car.
I'll step out when another officer gets here. I'm not
Step
stepping out.
out.
I don't trust you. You're holding me too strong, and I don't
Because
trust you.
I don't
You
trust
don't
you
have to
not-
hold me like I'm not going anywhere. Where am I going
I
to
will
go?
stop holding
I'm not
you
going to
if you
go.
step-
I'm not stepping out of the car.
You need to
Call
step
your
out of the
colonel, and
car.
I will get out of the car.
This is
You're
resisting
holding me.
arrest.
I'm not resisting arrest. What am I under arrest
order.
for? What am I under arrest for? I didn't litter. You did that. No, I did not. You did that. You did that. It's all on camera. So when your colonel gets here, then I will step out. I have my child with me.
I am
I'm
the
not getting
corporal.
out of the. You have a supervisor, okay?
I am the
so when your
supervisor on
supervisor gets here, then
He is
I will
not- I
step
am
out of
the
the car.
highest ranking
Call
supervisor.
someone else
I don't
to
have
come
anyone
here.
else.
There is someone else.
Not right now.
There is someone
You
else.
need to
Let me
step
call
out of the car.
911.
Stop.
Get your phone.
Wait, please, sir, stop. Wait, stop. Mom, chill out, Mom. Wait, stop, sir, please stop. Wait, stop, please stop. Wait, stop, sir, stop, please. Wait, please stop. No, stop, please, I'm scared, stop. Wait, stop.
On January 16, 2026, a black woman named Tanisha Thompson was driving through Hurst, Texas, with her 15-year-old son sitting in the passenger seat beside her. It was a regular afternoon. They were heading home. By the time that drive was over, Tanisha Thompson would be face down on the pavement, in handcuffs, with a black eye, a busted lip that would later require stitches, and charges for speeding, littering, and resisting arrest. The officer involved? He was cleared. No discipline, no consequences. The video went viral, and now the country is watching. Before we go any further, if this is the kind of story your feed has been missing, the kind that doesn't flinch, that doesn't pick a side before presenting the facts, but also doesn't pretend those facts exist in a vacuum, then this channel is for you. Hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications, because stories like Tanisha's don't end after one video. There are court dates, investigations, and moments of truth still coming, and this channel will be here for every single one of them. Now, let's go back to that afternoon in Hurst, Texas, and walk through exactly what happened, minute by minute, and let you decide what justice looks like here. Hurst is a mid-sized city in Tarrant County, just outside of Fort Worth, Texas. It is a largely suburban community, the kind of place with school zones and traffic lights and neighborhoods where people expect ordinary days to stay ordinary. On the afternoon of January 16th, 2026, Tanisha Thompson was driving through one of those school zones on East Hurst Boulevard, according to later reports. The posted speed limit through that stretch was 25 miles per hour. A flashing signal, according to the officer, was active on the side of the roadway. Corporal Brandon Morgan of the Hurst Police Department clocked her vehicle at 40 miles per hour. He initiated a traffic stop. At this point in the story, there is very little dispute. Thompson was pulled over, the officer approached the vehicle. And for the first several minutes, what unfolded looked like a routine traffic stop tense, perhaps, but routine. What happened next is where everything falls apart. The Hurst Police Department later released edited body camera footage from 3 separate angles. What follows is a reconstruction of the encounter based on that footage and the transcript of the body cam recording. Corporal Morgan approached the driver's side window and greeted Thompson. He identified himself and explained why she had been pulled over 40 inches, a 25, through a school zone with an active flashing signal. He asked for her driver's license and proof of insurance. He asked where they were headed. Thompson answered home, but when he pressed further and asked where they were coming from, she pushed back. "Why?" she said. "Just a question," he replied. "It's not a good business," Thompson told him. That exchange brief pointed set the emotional temperature of everything that followed. Thompson was not hostile, but she was not deferential either. She answered what she felt she needed to answer and drew a quiet line around the rest. Morgan checked her insurance on her phone valid until March and returned to his patrol car to run her license. So far, a speeding stop, nothing more. When Corporal Morgan returned to the vehicle, he informed Tanisha Thompson that she would be receiving a citation for the speed violation. He presented the ticket and asked for her signature. He clarified, as officers typically do, that signing is not an admission of guilt, it is simply a promise to appear. Thompson refused to sign. Under Texas law, this is a protected right. A driver cannot be arrested solely for refusing to sign a traffic citation in Texas, though the officer does have the authority to note the refusal. Morgan acknowledged this. He said he would mark her as refusing and send her on her way once he had the vehicle's VIN number. That moment is important, because at that point, the encounter should have been over. Morgan then asked about her registration sticker, noting it was absent from the windshield. Thompson explained she had recently purchased the vehicle and was still waiting for registration. He suggested she carry her bill of sale. She did not have it. The conversation had grown clipped and sharp on both sides. Thompson told him she hadn't been informed she needed it and suggested he needed to get updated on the law. It was not a warm exchange, but it was still just words. Then, Morgan printed her copy of the citation and returned to the window to hand it to her. This is where everything changed. According to the body cam transcript, Morgan handed Thompson her copy of the citation. Thompson declined to take it. What happened next is the center of the entire dispute. The officer says Thompson threw the ticket out of the window, littering, in his words, a chargeable offense. Thompson maintains she did not throw it. She says she placed it inside the car and the officer himself dropped it, or that the officer is the one who tossed it. The body cam footage, which was released in edited form by the Hearst Police Department, shows the officer placing the ticket in the direction of the vehicle. The viral footage from Thompson's own perspective shows a different angle of the same moment. Both sides say the camera proves their version. What is not disputed, the ticket ended up outside the vehicle. And after it did, Corporal Morgan told Thompson she was under arrest. In the body cam transcript, the exchange becomes increasingly urgent. Morgan told her to step out of the car. Thompson refused. She asked for a supervisor. Morgan identified himself as the supervisor on duty. She didn't believe him or didn't accept it. She asked for his colonel. She asked for another officer to be present. She repeated, more than once, that she was there with her child. "I have my child with me," she said. "I don't trust you. You're holding me too strong." Morgan's hand was already on her, gripping her arm through the window as he continued to demand she exit the vehicle. "Is there anything I can do to get you to comply?" he asked at one point. It is a question worth sitting with, because it suggests an awareness that the moment had become something more than a traffic stop. And yet, rather than de-escalate, rather than step back, call for additional units, or simply wait, the officer continued to physically hold on to a woman who was telling him clearly, repeatedly, that she did not feel safe. Then came the force. The body cam transcript captures the audio of what followed. Shouting, Thompson screaming to stop, her son's voice rising from the passenger seat, officers issuing commands to roll over, Thompson's voice breaking as she asked how she was supposed to roll over. Video footage that circulated on social media captured from inside the vehicle showed Corporal Morgan grabbing Thompson by the neck and arm to pull her out of the SUV. Additional officers assisted in taking her to the ground. Her 15-year-old son watched from the passenger seat. When it was over, Tanisha Thompson was in handcuffs, seated against the front of the car. Officers patted her down, asked if she had any weapons or drugs. She had none. The body cam transcript ends with someone telling her, "All you had to do was take the ticket and leave." Tanisha Thompson did not walk away from that traffic stop unharmed. According to her civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, Thompson suffered a black eye, a busted lip that required stitches, and severe bruising across her body. These are not minor injuries. These are the kinds of injuries that come from being physically dragged from a vehicle and taken to the ground on pavement. She was a woman who had been stopped for speeding, she had her son in the car, and by the time the encounter ended, she needed medical attention. The question the audience must sit with is this: were those injuries proportionate to the situation? Was the level of force applied, grabbing, pulling, taking to the ground, necessary given the nature of the alleged offense? That question is not being asked by the Hearst Police Department, but it is being asked by a lot of other people. Following the arrest, Tanisha Thompson was charged with 3 offenses. Speeding, driving 40 miles per hour in a 2-5 mile per hour school zone. This is the charge that initiated the stop and is the least contested element of the encounter. Littering for the ticket that ended up outside the vehicle window. This is the charge that transformed a traffic stop into a custodial arrest. Under Texas Penal Code, Section 365.012, littering is a Class C misdemeanor, the same classification as a minor traffic violation. It is punishable by a fine, not imprisonment, unless the individual resists arrest. Resisting arrest for Thompson's refusal to exit the vehicle when ordered to do so by the officer. Under Texas Penal Code Section 38.03, a person commits the offense of resisting arrest if they intentionally prevent or obstruct a person they know is a peace officer from effecting the arrest. The Tarrant County District Attorney's Office reviewed the evidence and accepted this charge. It is worth noting that the resisting arrest charge is entirely dependent on the validity of the arrest itself. If the underlying arrest for littering is ever deemed unlawful or disproportionate, the resisting arrest charge becomes legally complicated. That is a question for the courts. To understand whether the officer acted within his legal authority, it helps to understand the framework Texas law creates around traffic stops and citations. Can an officer in Texas arrest someone for not accepting a traffic citation? Technically, yes, but it is not straightforward. Under Texas Transportation Code Section 543.004 and Section 543.005, a person issued a citation must sign it as a promise to appear. However, refusing to sign a citation does not automatically authorize an arrest. The officer must first attempt compliance, note the refusal, and the situation must escalate through a separate chargeable offense for a custodial arrest to occur. Morgan did not arrest Thompson for refusing to sign. He arrested her for littering. Is littering an arrestable offense in Texas? Under Texas law, a Class C misdemeanor, which includes littering in the manner described here, is typically handled through citation, not custodial arrest. However, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure Section 14.01 gives officers discretion to arrest without a warrant for offenses committed in their presence. Because littering allegedly occurred in Morgan's presence, he had the legal authority to initiate an arrest. Legal authority and proportionality, however, are two different things. What about the use of force during the removal? Texas Penal Code Section 9.51 governs the use of force by law enforcement. It permits officers to use force when they reasonably believe it is immediately necessary to make an arrest, but that force must be proportionate to the threat or resistance presented. Thompson was seated in a vehicle with her child. She was not armed, she was not fleeing. She was verbally resistant and physically stationary. Whether the force used to remove her from that vehicle meets the standard of proportionality is the question at the heart of Lee Merritt's civil rights complaint, and potentially a federal lawsuit. 4 days after the incident on January 20th, 2026, a formal complaint was filed against Corporal Brandon Morgan. The Hearst Police Department opened an internal affairs investigation. The conclusion of that investigation, the claims of excessive force were unfounded. Hearst Police Chief Billy Keetle issued a public statement asserting that Corporal Morgan had acted in full accordance with the law and with our department's policies. No disciplinary action was taken. The department released edited body camera footage from 3 different angles, stating that the initial viral video circulating on social media had been edited and misrepresented the officer's actions. They framed the release of the footage as a gesture of transparency and an effort to clear up misconceptions. Their official position on the escalation rests on 3 pillars. First, that Thompson refused to comply with multiple clear requests from the officer. Second, that by discarding the citation outside the vehicle, she committed the offense of littering, which legally justified the arrest. Third, that her subsequent refusal to exit the vehicle constituted resisting arrest, a charge that the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office later accepted for prosecution. The department also noted that a full independent investigation through the DA's office was ongoing, and that they were limited in what additional details they could release while that review continued. It is worth examining the structure of that response. The department's defense of the officer's conduct is procedural. He followed policy, he followed the law, she did not comply. What is notably absent from their official statements is any acknowledgement of the injuries Thompson sustained, any discussion of whether the force used was necessary given the specific circumstances, or any engagement with the question of how a speeding ticket became a physical altercation that sent a woman to the hospital. The internal investigation was conducted by the same department whose officer is under review. That is standard practice in law enforcement. It is also a practice that civil rights advocates have long criticized as structurally inadequate for producing accountability. Tanisha Thompson retained civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, a prominent figure in high-profile civil rights cases involving Black Americans, to represent her in the aftermath of the incident. Merritt wasted no time. He held a press conference and then appeared before the Hearst City Council, making clear that his client's case was not going to be quietly resolved behind closed doors. His demands were direct: a full, independent investigation into Corporal Morgan's conduct, the release of the complete, unedited body camera footage, and a concrete accountability plan from the department. He described Thompson's physical injuries in detail: the black eye, the busted lip requiring stitches, the bruising. He framed the encounter not as a compliance issue, but as an excessive use of force against a Black woman who was doing nothing more dangerous than sitting in her car and asserting her rights. Merritt is also exploring a federal civil rights lawsuit, which would invoke 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, the federal statute that allows individuals to sue state actors, including law enforcement, for violations of constitutional rights. A Section 1983 claim in this context would likely allege that Thompson's Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable seizure was violated, and possibly her 14th Amendment right to equal protection, a provision that becomes relevant when examining whether race played a role in how this stop was handled. Thompson herself, in the footage that went viral, was clear and consistent. She never agreed she had thrown the ticket. She asked repeatedly for another officer or a supervisor. She told Corporal Morgan he was holding her too tightly. She said she didn't trust him. She said she was there with her child. Her instinct was not to escalate. Her instinct was to slow things down, to get a witness, to protect her son from what was unfolding in front of him. Those instincts were overridden. This is the part of the story that the Hearst Police Department's official statement does not address. It is also the part of the story that cannot be separated from what happened. Tanisha Thompson is a Black woman. Corporal Brandon Morgan is not. The history of Black women and law enforcement interactions in the United States is long, documented, and painful. Black women are disproportionately subjected to use of force during police encounters. They are less likely to have their accounts of those encounters taken seriously, and they are often portrayed in official statements, in media coverage, and in public discourse as the aggressors in situations where they were, in fact, the most vulnerable person present. The narrative of non-compliance is one that gets applied particularly aggressively to Black women. The moment Tanisha Thompson said no, whether it was to the question about her destination, or to signing the citation, or to stepping out of the car, she was positioned as the problem. Her refusals, some of which were legally protected, were framed as escalation. But consider what she was actually doing. She was a woman, alone with her child, being physically held by a police officer she had just met, who was telling her to get out of the car. Her request for a supervisor, for another officer, for anyone else to be present, these are not the actions of someone trying to resist lawful authority. These are the actions of someone who is afraid. Whether race explicitly drove Corporal Morgan's decisions that day is something only he can answer. But the pattern his conduct fits into the disproportionate use of force, the rapid escalation, the internal clearance, the framing of the victim as the aggressor is one that shows up with striking regularity in cases involving Black women. Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, Tatiana Jefferson. These are names that exist in the same conversation, not because every case is identical, but because the pattern keeps repeating. And the audience watching this video, many of whom have watched those other videos too, deserves to have that context stated plainly. As of early 2026, the Tanisha Thompson case remains active on multiple fronts. The Tarrant County District Attorney's Office has accepted the charge of resisting arrest and is conducting its own independent review of the evidence. That investigation is ongoing, and its outcome will have significant implications both for Thompson's criminal case and for any potential civil action against the officer. Attorney Lee Merritt has indicated that a federal civil rights lawsuit is being considered. If filed, it would likely name both Corporal Morgan and the city of Hearst as defendants. The Hearst Police Department has maintained that the officer acted appropriately and that the case is closed from their perspective. They have not announced any policy changes or additional training in the wake of the incident. Thompson continues to face the charges filed against her. Her legal battle is not over. And somewhere in all of this, there is a 15-year-old boy who sat in the passenger seat and watched his mother be dragged from a car and pinned to the ground over a speeding ticket in a school zone. That is not a footnote. That is the story. Here is what is not disputed. Tanisha Thompson was speeding. She refused to sign the citation. A ticket ended up outside the window. She was placed under arrest and physically removed from the vehicle. She was injured. She was charged. The officer was cleared. Here is what remains disputed. Who threw the ticket, Thompson or the officer? Was the force used proportionate to the situation? Was the arrest for littering a legitimate use of police authority or a pretext to punish a woman who refused to be deferential? Here is what we cannot know from the footage alone. Whether the officer's actions were shaped, consciously or not, by who Tanisha Thompson was. Whether a different woman in a different car with a different appearance would have been handed her ticket, sent on her way, and never made the news. That last question is the one that makes this case matter beyond Hearst, Texas. Because if the answer is yes, if the calculus would have been different, then what happened to Tanisha Thompson was not just a policy compliance issue. It was a reflection of something older and harder and more systemic. And no internal investigation, no matter how thoroughly conducted, is designed to answer that question. Tanisha Thompson went for a drive on January 16, 2026. She had her son with her. She was heading home. She did not arrive there the way she left. This channel does not tell you what to believe. That is not the job here. The job is to lay out the facts, give every side its full voice, and trust you, the audience, to be thoughtful enough to sit with the discomfort of a story that does not have a clean ending yet. What this channel will say, plainly, is this. The bodies of black women have too often been the site where power decides how far it can go. And the response from institutions, from investigators, from official statements, has too often been to ask what the woman did to cause it, rather than what the officer did to prevent it. Tanisha Thompson asked for a supervisor. She asked for another officer. She said, out loud, that she felt unsafe. She was not heard. Whether the law calls that acceptable, and whether you do, are two different questions. And both of them matter. If you want to follow this case as it develops, subscribe and hit the bell. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is a space for real conversation. And if you know someone who needs to see this story, share it, because silence is how these things get buried.